I'm Roman Yossi of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Matt Duchesne of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Justus Aros of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Ryan Johansson of the Nashville Predators.
You're listening to the Renegades of Puck
with Crazy Charlie.
Welcome to the Bunker. Welcome to the Renegades of Puck podcast. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier, and before we get to the no half-step in hockey coverage, let me direct you to our home website, renegadesofpuck.com. Once you go to renegadesofpuck.com, you'll get good and educated about the show, and once you've learned everything, then you can click on that merchandise tab. That's going to take you to our classic logo t-shirt, our Pride logo t-shirt, and all of our special event t-shirts as well. Don't forget, we've also got all the gimmicks you've come to know and love from the Renegades of Puck: socks, wall art, throw pillows, bed sets. You can outfit your entire home if you'd like, and we would appreciate it if you would. We've sold out so that you can buy in. We sure to appreciate each and every one of you out there for picking up some merchandise. Social media is of critical importance to this independent hockey operation, so listen up and please help us out. It doesn't take you but a second. It doesn't cost you a single thing. You can help us out by following along on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, or on TikTok. You can also give us a subscription on Twitch or YouTube and catch our video formats, and the audio portion of the podcast can be found on numerous platforms: Google, Stitcher, and several others. Please just search Renegades of Puck on your preferred podcast platform. Venmo is how you can become a partner of the show or become a sponsor if you'd like, and it is easy to do. Just search Renegades of Puck or scan the QR code that's currently on your screen. Thanks to generous Renegades just like you out there, we've been able to upgrade just about everything here in the bunker, and we look to continue making upgrades to our technology behind the scenes and to some special events that we have upcoming in the next several weeks that we'll start talking a lot more about here on the show soon. So again, that's Venmo. Scan the QR code or just search Renegades of Puck. Now, I know it's time for the no half step in hockey coverage, so let me deliver the goods. It's time for operation number 718. That's right, it's time for show number 718 for the Renegades. Puck. At this moment in hockey history, the Nashville Predators currently find themselves in 5th place in the Central Division, an overall record of 26-22-6. 58 points has them 7 points currently behind the Minnesota Wild for the last wild card spot, and 9 points behind the Colorado Avalanche for the automatic playoff spot of 3rd place in the Central Division. The Nashville Predators have a record of 15-10-3. They've scored 152 goals for. They've given up 163. That means their goal differential is -11. I give you the home record because the Preds' next game will take place on home ice and will be against the Vancouver Canucks from the Pacific Division. But let me give you the Central Division latest standings first. The Dallas Stars are currently in 1st place with 72 points. Winnipeg follows them up in 2nd with 69 points. The Colorado Avalanche are at 67 points. Minnesota at 65. The Nashville Predators at 58 in 5th place. The St. Louis Blues are at 55 points, 3 points behind the Nashville Predators. And then Arizona and Chicago round out the lower part of the Central Division. Now, for the Nashville Predators, once they wrap up this one-game homestand against the Vancouver Canucks, Thursday they'll be in San Jose, and then Sunday in Arizona. So a late night on Thursday with a puck drop very late in the evening for the Central Time Zone, and then reasonable start time on Sunday in Arizona. When it comes to the rest of the schedule after that, back home on the 28th to close out the month of February versus the Pittsburgh Penguins, then right back out on the road on the 2nd of March in Florida and on the 4th of March in Chicago. Now the Preds are about to take on the Canucks for the 2nd time this season. Let's go back and take a look at the season series. It was back on November the 5th when they met for the first time. The Nashville Predators secured a 4-3 victory in the shootout. It was the Preds getting a 3-goal comeback in the second half of that game. It was Gross with 2 goals in that game. Nino Niederreiter with a goal as well, and the Nashville Predators were able to come back, force the shootout, and come away with the victory. The Nashville Predators and the Vancouver Canucks will meet one more time. That will take place on March the 6th, and that will also take place in Vancouver. Now, the Canucks on the season, 22-30-4 is their overall record. They have 48 points. It's good for 6th overall in the Pacific Division. On the road, 11-15-3, and a goal differential of -35. In their most recent stretch of hockey, the last 5 games, going back to February the 9th, it was a 6-5 win at the New York Islanders. Following that up on the 11th, a 5-2 loss at the Detroit Red Wings. First of 2 versus Detroit. Then at home versus Detroit, it was a 6-1 loss. On the 15th of February, it's a 6-4 loss versus the New York Rangers. And most recently on the 18th, a 6-2 win versus the Philadelphia Flyers. So as you can see, the Vancouver Canucks are involved in some fairly high-scoring games. Taking a look at the NHL ranks, their goals for, rank, and against indicates what I just said. Goals for the Vancouver Canucks is 3.36 per game. That's 10th best in the NHL. For the Nashville Predators, 26th best in the NHL, 2.78 is their goals per game. Goals against per game, the Nashville Predators are giving up 3 even per game. That's 14th in the league, while the Vancouver Canucks are giving up 4.02 goals per game. That is 31st out of 32 teams in the NHL. So they score 3.36, they give up 4.02 per game, and the scores of their most recent 5 are definitely indicative of those particular metrics. In the shots for category, 30.6 on net per game for Vancouver. That's 21st in the NHL. 30.7 per game for the Nashville Predators. That is 20th overall. Shots against, the Preds give up 33.8 per game. That's 27th in the league, while the Vancouver Canucks give up 31.3. That is 17th overall in the NHL. The Vancouver Canucks are favored in the specialty teams portion of the statistics, and here it is. 11th best power play in the NHL, converting at 23.4% or 44 out of 188 opportunities, while the Preds have the 28th rated power play in the NHL. 16.9% is their conversion rate, 29 out of 172 opportunities. When it comes to the penalty kill, the Nashville Predators are 16th in the NHL, 37 power play goals given up, and they have a kill rate of 79.8%. The penalty kill for the Vancouver Canucks is definitely a liability for this team. 32nd overall in the NHL, a kill rate of only 65.4%, and they have given up an incredible 56 power play goals against. Update on the Nashville Predators and their injury situation coming out of the weekend. Forsberg still listed as day-to-day with an upper body injury. Carrier listed as day-to-day, expected to be back in the next couple of games. And Mark Borowiecki, of course, no update, still on injured reserve. When it comes to the individual statistics and leaders for these teams, every NHL team has a high list of quality players, and these two teams are no exception. Let's give you the top 5 scorers in individual stats for the Vancouver Canucks and the Nashville Predators. Let's start on the visiting side of the ledger. Pettersson, 27 goals, 44 assists for 71 points overall. Bo Horvat, 31 goals and 23 assists for 54 points. Hughes, 5 and 47 for 52 points. Miller, 19 goals, 32 assists for 51 points. And Kuzmenko, 24 goals, 24 assists for 48 points. The captain, Roman Josi, 15 goals and 34 assists for 49 points, and it's just been an absolute tear coming out of the All-Star break. Matt Duchene, 17 goals, 26 assists for 43 points. Philip Forsberg, 19 and 23 for 42, out injured right now, of course. And Mikael Granlund, 6 goals, 24 assists for 30 points. Ryan Johansson, 12 goals, 16 assists for 28 points. Anticipated netminders for this game, UC Saros for the Nashville Predators, 20-16 and 5, a 9.16 save percentage, a 2.82 goals against average. Martin for Vancouver has a record of 11-15 and 1, an 8.71 save percentage, a 3.99 goals against average. That has you all set up for the Nashville Predators versus the Vancouver Canucks Tuesday night at Bridgestone Arena. We've got the Rebirth Sports full game recap coming up next. We'll go back and review everything that happened between the Nashville Predators at the Minnesota Wild on Sunday afternoon.
Hockey players are as unique as the game itself, and your uniform should be tailored to fit you. Rebirth Sports is your sports apparel tailor. From shells, bags, warm-ups, hats, hoodies, branding, and more, let Rebirth Sports be your custom hockey tailor.
And don't forget to tell them they do more than just hockey.
Rebirth Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Rebirth Sport, a match made in hockey.
It's now time for the Rebirth Sports full game recap. We go back to February the 19th of the year 2023 when the Nashville Predators were in Minnesota to take on the Wild in a critical Central Division matchup. John Hines deploys his lines in the following way. Granlund, Johansson, and Duchene make up your first line. Niederreiter, Glass, and Tomasino. Trennan, Sissons, and Janot. Smith, Novak, and Parsonen. Your defensive pairings are McDonough and Josi, Ekholm and Luzon, Gravel, and Fabro. And in net, UC Saros gets the start. 1:30 into the first period, and it's Middleton's shot has to be stopped by UC Saros. It's the first shot on goal of the game for either of the teams. 1:55 of the first, Saros comes up with a save on Boldy. 5:09 into the first period, Kaprizov off the box, 2 minutes for hooking. Saros comes up with a save on Eriksson X, partial shorthanded breakaway. Gustafsson then comes up with a save on Duchene, his first save of the game. But then it would be UC Saros coming up with another shorthanded save, and it was on Dewar, partial breakaway, and then Niederreiter gets in the crease area, and he saves the rebound from going in. Really, really great play by Nino Niederreiter right here. The Preds giving up golden scoring opportunities while they have the extra attacker. 7:22 into the first period, Kaprizov's gets a chance off the rush, and out of the penalty box, it is saved by UC Saros. So again, the Minnesota Wild getting great opportunities and getting in behind the Preds defense. At 11:11 off the first period, Gustafsson comes up with a save on Fabro. 11:32, Saros comes up with a save on Boldy. At 13:20, Fabro's off to the box, 2 minutes for tripping. UC Saros would come up with a huge save on Brodin, and the Nashville Predators penalty kill would do enough. 15:48 of the first period, Gustafsson comes up with a save on Johansson. Not a lot happening, tight checking game. The final couple of minutes of the first period, we hit the end of the first period. Minnesota is out shooting the Nashville Predators 13-7. We are just 9 seconds into the second period, and Duhaime's got his 5th goal of the season. It was a tip off the Freddie Gaudreau shot in the low slot area. Minnesota now has a 1-0 lead in this game, and it took just 9 seconds onto the clean sheet of the second period. 1:11 of the second period, Luzon's off the box, 2 minutes for high sticking. That's when Kaprizov's going to go to work, giving the Minnesota Wild a 2-0 lead. His 32nd goal of the season was a rebound putback from the low slot. He knows exactly where to go, and he knows exactly how to finish, and that's what Kaprizov does right here to give Minnesota a 2-0 lead early in the second period. 5:11 in the second period, Fabro goes off the box, 2 minutes for tripping. Plenty of zone time for Minnesota, but frankly, they were getting too cute trying to set up the backdoor play multiple times. The Nashville Predators are able to survive. 8:33 of the second period, Gustafsson comes up with a save on Yossi, sharp angle shot. At 8:41, Saros comes up with a save on Greenway breakaway, and then at 12:49, Gustafsson a save on glass. 15:12, Gustafsson a save on Yossi. 17:03, the Nashville Predators get to the moment they've been trying to find this entire game. It's Tommy Novak breaking through for his 7th goal of the season. It comes off of the rush. He looks off the D, drags the puck, and then shoots it bar down. Great look off and then rip release. Tommy Novak's 7th goal of the season gives the Nashville Predators some hope heading to the end of the second period. Minnesota's leading 2-1 after 2 periods. They are out shooting the Nashville Predators 25-17. Just like the second period, into the third period, the Minnesota Wild are getting on the board early and quick. 1:23 into the third period. It's Kaprizov's 33rd goal now of the season. It was a wrist shot off of the inside of the post, off of the rush. Nashville Predators having some difficulties with Kaprizov in this game. Now 3-1 in favor of the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild are starting to lock things down in the neutral zone, and especially in their own defensive end. But the Nashville Predators get an opportunity for 14 in the period when Duar's off the box, 2 minutes for holding on Tommy Novak. The Preds would generate 3 shots on goal, get some good zone time, but it would be mostly kept to the outside, exactly where the Minnesota Wild were allowing them to play. At 10:04 to the third period, Niederreiter off to the box, 4 minutes, double minor for high sticking. Saros would have to come up with a huge save on Hartman. Saros would also have to come up with a save on Zuccarello, but the Nashville Predators would be able to kill off the 4-minute power play for the Minnesota Wild. 15:04 of the third period. The captain Roman Yossi's 15th goal of the season comes off of a wrist shot with traffic and goes through the arm, and it is the Minnesota Wild now leading by only 1, 3-2 here in the third period. 19:13 of the third period with UC Saros pulled in the extra tacker on. Niederreiter scores his 15th goal of the season. It was a high tip off of Yossi's shot in the slot. Plenty of traffic and bodies in the front. That ties the game up at 3 apiece. So with the extra attacker on, the Nashville Predators, with just 47 seconds to go in this game, they find a way to tie this game up at 3 apiece. Unfortunately for the Nashville Predators, at 19:40, with just 20 seconds remaining in the game, former Nashville Predator Hartman scores his 7th goal of the season off of McDonough, then off of Hartman and into the net. The Minnesota Wild hold a 4-3 lead, and they're able to maintain that lead for the final 20 seconds of regulation. They outshoot the Nashville Predators 35-25, and they, of course, win the game 4-3. Valiant effort by the Nashville Predators to fight back from down 2-0 on the road, second day of back-to-backs. But once they had this game locked up at 3 apiece, they should have been able to close out that final 40 seconds. Now, I understand John Hines was visibly upset about the icing call that was called that directly led to this goal against the Nashville Predators. The officials missed that one. They got that one wrong. That's not going to make anything better or anything right. But that bad call by the officials and that icing call is one of the direct reasons that the Nashville Predators had to take a face-off deep in their own zone, could not deploy the alignment that they wanted at that point in time, and the reason that former Pred Hartman was able to get himself a goal. It has been a continuous tour of former Nashville Predators scoring against the Preds, and that continues today in this game with Hartman getting the game-winning goal. goal against one of his many former teams, the Nashville Predators. The Preds let this one slip away. They came back from down 2-0, came back from down 3-2, and had it tied up with just 47 seconds left in the game. They could not hold on. They fall in Minnesota 4-3, and they also fall in the standings. What a wild swing that was. If they were able to win that game today, they would currently be only 3 points behind the Minnesota Wild in the standings. Instead, they are 7 points behind the Minnesota Wild in the standings. That's going to do it for the Rebirth Sports full game recap. We've got the Renegades of Puck in the trenches coming up in the next segment. We've got analysis. We've got Sean C. Smith. We've got Brian Bass. We've got the box score and so much more coming up right here on the Renegades of Puck podcast. That's coming to you next.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Tracy, owner-operator of Strong Style Fitness. And that's me and my training assistant, Rizzo. And we are here to bring you fitness that meets you where you are by offering circuit classes, bar-inspired classes, Tabata workouts, boot camps, guided stretching, and more, all taught by a certified personal trainer, me. To learn more, go to our website, strongstylefit.com. Subscribe on YouTube at Strong Style Fitness. Follow on social media at Strong Style Fit. But most importantly, let's get you moving. It doesn't matter if it's your first workout or you've been doing it for years. Strong Style Fitness has the workout that meets you on your journey and helps you along the path to a happier, healthier life. I understand where you've been, what you were going through, and where you were going, and I want to take you there. We'll see you on the mat. Mwah!
UC Saros was 31 out of 35 in this game, and he kept the Preds in this game. When the Nashville Predators were down in the second period by 2 goals, it seemed like the Nashville Predators were going to get grinded right out of Minnesota, and the Nashville Predators were able to stay in this one with UC Saros' strong performance. Yes, he ends up taking the loss in this one, but you got to give him credit. He was one of the main reasons the Preds had the opportunity to come back from down 2-0 and down 3-2 and tie the game at 3 apiece late in the third period there. And unfortunately for the UC Saros, the Nashville Predators not able to hang on to even get a point on the road, but UC Saros, I thought, had a strong game. Too many breakaways, partial breakaways, odd man rushes against the Nashville Predators. Any goaltender, even Vezina finalists, even Vezina winners, if you put them under that much pressure during games, they are going to give up goals. And give it up for Nino Niederreiter while we're talking about goalies. He gets credited with a save in this game. Pretty incredible, throwing himself there in the empty net and preventing a goal from getting in early on in the game. Let's talk about the captain, Roman Josi, and he did it all by himself practically against the Florida Panthers yesterday at Bridgestone Arena. And again today, he tried to throw the team on his back. He tried to do it all by himself again. The captain, Roman Josi, another goal today and an assist, 2 points. Now 49 points on the season, 15 goals, 34 assists, 49 points overall. The captain, Roman Josi, and that is in 54 games. So Roman Josi not very far off a point per game pace. Of course, we all know last year he finished with more than a point per game pace for the season, but he is inching closer to getting back to that pace that he was on last year, which had him getting over 90 points in the season. But for the captain, Roman Josi, I felt like overall 27-25 time on ice, led the team second day of back-to-backs. Got to give him credit for that. 5 shots on goal, and he was definitely an offensive threat at all times, looking to try to spark this Nashville Predators team. For the captain, Roman Josi, 5 points in just 24 hours over the weekend. He definitely tried to will his team. Tommy Novak, great to get a chance to talk about Tommy Novak again today. A goal, 2 assists, 3 points today. Add that to his 2 goals yesterday. Also 5 points on the weekend. Tommy Novak, what a hell of a performance this weekend. And it's that wrist shot. It was great. Off of the rush, he goes ahead and he looks as if he's going to pass. That takes the defender off of him a little bit towards the slot area, starting to shade a little bit. He then knows absolutely he's going to take that shot, and that wrist shot was a sick finisher. Great job by Tommy Novak. 2 assists in this game, and I'm really happy. Again, Tommy Novak, one of the bright spots, one of the more enjoyable things to talk about with this Nashville Predators team that has essentially been a flat line to discuss all season long. But Tommy Novak, impressive stuff from him since getting that new one-year contract extension, which will keep him with the team for next season. Also want to talk about Nino Niederreiter, and he had one goal in this game. He brought the jam. Great to see Nino Niederreiter out there again performing at the level that he is, and you've got to wonder, and this is where the conversation starts to drift to more of the big picture as we very much are heading towards the trade deadline very quickly, and we heard about the comments from David Poile saying this stretch of games was going to be what factored into his critical decision-making at the trade deadline, if they would be buyers or sellers, or what everyone else really truly fears is that they would win 2 games this weekend and they would be Stan Pat Poile all over again. But Nino Niederreiter scores a goal in this game in his first season with the Nashville Predators. He's been a good player. He goes about things very professionally, and he's put up some goals, not quite to the number, I think, at this point in the season where some people hoped, based on the red-hot start that he had, 6 goals in the first couple of games of the season. It was hard to keep up that pace, but he hasn't come anywhere near that pace since then. So Nino Niederreiter is the type of playoff player that most GMs are looking to acquire this time of year, and for David Poile, it would not be difficult for him to move Nino Niederreiter onto a more contending team, and Nino Niederreiter would fit in with a more contending team. I wouldn't be surprised if one of his old teams with the Carolina Hurricanes try to bring him back into the fold. Nino Niederreiter is a very good player. He's a very professional player. He's very hard to play against, and for the Nashville Predators, it's been mostly a good addition to the team. It's just he's not able to carry this team offensively, and he wasn't expected to be, and he's not ever going to carry a team as the number one offensive weapon. So Nino Niederreiter, that leads me into Tanner Jeannot, and I have to start addressing these things now with the show, because with the trade deadline coming up, it's been rumored the number of scouts being in the building, it's from I think 8 to 10 different teams that were in the building over the weekend. Tanner Jeannot trade rumors are starting to percolate to the surface involving the New York Rangers. Now, I don't know if the New York Rangers deal that they made today goes ahead and negates what they were thinking about with Tanner Jeannot, but for the New York Rangers, it looks like they're going all in. They've already made the trade with St. Louis for Vladimir Tarasenko. They've now made a trade with Ottawa today to bring in Mott, and they're rumored to be looking into Tanner Jeannot, and who wouldn't be? Tanner Jeannot has had a very bad sophomore slump of a season. Overall, the offensive numbers are not there at all, and there's not even close, but the defensive play, the penalty killing, and the physical play is all still there, and that's the type of player you can absolutely add to a team looking to make a run, a team like the New York Rangers, and he would fit in perfectly there. I know people don't want to hear these types of things talked about a lot, but it is going to be the reality of our world here as we talk about the Nashville Predators over the next course of several days. So that kind of gets you squared away, some analysis and some talk about the rumors that have kind of trickled out through the media over the weekend, but we've got a lot more to talk about with this game. So let's talk to Sean C. Smith from A to Z Sports.com. Sean is going to talk about the entire weekend for the Nashville Predators after his great reality check talk from the last episode that he appeared on. Always appreciate having Sean C. Smith in the trenches. Here he is right now. You can find him on Twitter at SCSNSH.
Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Renegades, it's Sean Smith, and we're going to talk about this game that the Predators played this afternoon against the Minnesota Wild. Now, you heard the same thing I heard, then you knew that David Poile said that these 3 games over the weekend, and of course the game on Thursday, were going to have a lot to do with what the team was going to do at the trade deadline. Now, if we look back on the game against Boston, the Bruins came into town on a furious goal drive and kept it right on going. They made the Predators look silly, almost like they weren't even an NHL team out there, only for the Predators to turn around yesterday afternoon and play against a Panthers team that they demolished and made look silly. Now, here's the thing. You talk about maybe this game against the Wild being the rubber match or the bellwether game here to kind of see how things are going. You know, the Bruins, you could realistically argue, the best team in the NHL right now, should have come in and ragdolled the Predators. But you have to remember, and this is going to be very important here in a minute, that if the Bruins are a number 1 seed team, that's the caliber of team the Predators could expect to face if they wound up in the playoffs this season. Now, Panthers, a fair to Midland team, kind of like where the Predators are, but realistically took advantage of them, came out with something to prove, and whatever it was they had to prove, they definitely proved it. And then, of course, the Minnesota Wild today. Now, here's the thing. The Wild, going into this game, were 5 points ahead of the Predators, and they are currently in the last wild card spot. And that's kind of what the Predators are chasing right now. Now, they do have a few games in hand, and that's important to consider. But this game, had a lot to do with how things are going to go, in my opinion. And of course, I'm not David Poyle. I'm not a member of the front office staff. I don't have anything to do with how this team runs or operates. But if I'm David Poyle at this point, after seeing what happened today, and you could argue with me, you could say, Sean, it was close. They just barely lost right at the end of the game. It's going to be okay. They just need a few more chances. There have been a lot of chances over the years. This team has squeaked into the playoffs the last few seasons. The whole return to play in the bubble against the Coyotes was embarrassing. This whole situation last season against the Colorado Avalanche. And yeah, I know what you're going to say, but Sean, they went on to win Stanley Cup. They're the best team in hockey. Right. And look what happened to them. They got their butts handed back to them in a nicely gift-wrapped package. But David Poyle went out, got a few better players, and as far as I'm concerned, improved this team, even if it's just on paper. And it looks like this season is going to be the end of that playoff streak. But you're going to say, Sean, they could still make the playoffs. Okay, they could. But they're going to face a team, like we just talked about, like the Boston Bruins. And remember what happened when the Predators played the Boston Bruins? Yeah, maybe in a 7-game series they could squeak out a win, or they could show up and make a reasonable effort against them a night or two. But you're not going to beat the Boston Bruins. They are a juggernaut, and I know they're in a different conference. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that the caliber of team the Predators are going to play, if they manage, and that's a huge if right now, folks, squeak into the playoffs, is going to be just like the Boston Bruins, and they're going to get their rear ends kicked, handed back to them in what? A neatly gift-wrapped package. And that's what I think this fan base, and probably all of you Renegades out there, are getting tired of. Why continue to be mediocre when you could do some things to make the team great? That's what I want you to keep in mind as we head into this week. I don't know if David Poyle's making the decision to go ahead and sell some pieces, but I think that maybe the argument he was hoping to see for keeping the team together didn't get made against the Minnesota Wild today. I would look for some pieces to move. I would look for some talks to start, heat up, and maybe something to happen over this next week, but definitely by the trade deadline. Charlie, Renegades, that's all I got. Charlie, sending it back over to you.
The digital environment can be quite intimidating, time-consuming, and cumbersome, especially with all those other areas that need attention at your business, and that's why Stripe Digital Solutions is here to help. I know, because that's exactly what Stripe Digital Solutions did for me and the Renegades of Puck. From designing my home website and helping me create my merchandise to special event posters, brand building, and social media management. But it's not just that, it's so much more. Stripe Digital Solutions has helped me every step of the way. From startup to full-time operation, Stripe Digital Solutions has been there to assist and advise every single step of the journey. In today's fast-paced world, the path to success is having a strong digital partner, and nobody is better in the trenches than Brandy and Stripe Digital Solutions. Get the solution before it's even a problem with Stripe Digital Solutions. Taking a look inside the box score before we throw it over to the Renegade Analytics desk. Nino Niederreiter with a goal in this game. Tommy Novak with a goal in this game. Of course, the captain, Roman Josi, also scored. So 2 goals coming from forwards, 1 goal coming from the defensive group. Now, when it comes to the assists, it was Tommy Novak with 2 assists in this game. And then 4 different defensemen picking up a single assist in this game. Ekholm, Gravel, Josi, and also Luzon. So 2 assists from the forwards, both of them going to Tommy Novak. 4 assists coming from the defensive group. When it comes to shots on goal, Roman Josi led the team in total shots on goal with 5. Matt Duchene led the forwards with 4. When it comes to blocked shots, 3 was the magic number in this game, and 3 players had 3 blocked shots. Those 3 players are Colton Sissons, Cole Smith, and also the captain, Roman Josi. When it comes to hits, the physical play wasn't quite there. Second day of back-to-backs for the Nashville Predators. Understandable that they were perhaps not quite as ready to physically engage for the fumes that they may have been on, but still Tanner Jeannot led the team in hits with 4, and Cole Smith also tied with 4, and Ryan McDonough had 4. So 3 different Nashville Predators had 4 hits in this game. Very sparse as far as the hits category go throughout the rest of the category. I should mention Dante Fabro's 3, since so many other players only had 1 or 0 in this game. When it comes to time on ice, second day of back-to-backs, the forward time on ice was actually managed very well. The Nashville Predators Predators had a huge lead against the Florida Panthers yesterday, so that was an easy one to manage the ice time yesterday. Today, 17:22 is your forwards time on ice leader, and that goes to Yakov Trenin. The least amount of time skated was Philip Tomasino, only 10:50 in time on ice. It was a long stretch of time in this game between when I saw Philip Tomasino out there and, as a matter of fact, the rest of his line for that analysis right there. I want to come time on ice total for the Nashville Predators. Of course, the captain Roman Josi led 27-25, just incredible. Second day of back-to-backs. He puts up 5 points on the weekends, and he skates just about 26 and a half minutes per game in each of those games. He does it nonstop. He's one of the best in the business. Absolutely everybody knows that. And UC Saros back in net today, 31 out of 35. And again, he kept the Nashville Predators in this game for the most part, and the Nashville Predators were able to come back tied up, but then unable to secure even a single point. Only had to hang on to the puck for just under 47 seconds in this game to at least get to OT, to at least get that point. Any point at this point in the season is of critical importance. That does it for the box score. Let's go ahead and kick it over to the Renegade Analytics desk. That's where Brian Baston is holding it down. He's got the charts you need to see, the numbers you need to know from ontheforecheck.com. You can find his work right there. You can watch him right here on Renegades of Puck TV, and you can catch him on Twitter at Brian Baston. Brian, it's all yours.
The Nashville Predators may have clawed back into the game against the Minnesota Wild as Nino Niederreiter sent home the game-tying goal with just 47 seconds remaining, but it wasn't enough as former Predator Ryan Hartman scored the game winner just 27 seconds later in what looked like a freak ping ball shot that got past UC Saros. And while it feels like the Predators' playoff hopes dwindle with every game, there are still some players that are impressing on the ice. And while he may only have 5 goals and 21 points on the season, there's a lot to like about rookie Juuso Parssinen, and he's the topic of tonight's One Big Stat. Now, we've said a lot about the 2019 Nashville draft pick, both leading into the season and during, but points haven't come easy for the young player. After a sensational start with 3 goals and 5 points in his first 4 games after getting the call-up from the Milwaukee Admirals, it wouldn't be late until last calendar year that he would find his scoring touch again, where he would pick up 2 more goals and 12 points in the last month and a half. But the turn of the calendar from December to January didn't just see Parsonen's point scoring increase. He's having one of the best stretches in his young career and on the team overall this season. Since the beginning of the year, Parssinen has had only 2 games with a negative on-ice goal differential at 5-on-5. He had 2 goal differential of -2 against just Buffalo and Vegas, but 7 games with a positive goal differential. But as we know, goal differential and its weird bad cousin plus minus isn't a great measure of player impact, so let's look a little bit deeper to evaluate Parssinen based on both his offensive and defensive ability. For that, we'll look at the expected goal share. In short, it's the percentage of offensive expected goals generated while Parssinen was on the ice compared to the total generated by both teams. If Nashville had more expected goals on the ice than the opponent with Juuso on the ice, then that percentage will be above 50%, and vice versa. What's great about this metric is that both the offense created and how the Predators and Parssinen, by extension limited opponents' offense, are both baked in. So let's get back to the numbers. In the calendar year of 2022 this season, Parssinen had 13 games out of 21 with under a 50% expected goal share. That's 2/3 of all the games he played. But since New Year's, however, he's only had 6 games under 50% in the 19 games. That's pretty impressive. That's just a little under 33% for Parssinen. Those other 67 or 70% of the games, he's been above 50 and he's been fantastic. In fact, he's had 5 games just since the beginning of the year with an expected goal percentage of 80% or more, which means that he was creating helping to create almost 4 times as much offense as the opponent was in those games. And that's pretty rare, especially when you consider that Parssinen has been playing a majority of his minutes recently on the 4th line with Cole Smith and Colton Sissons. But even though Parssinen hasn't got on the score sheet since January 26th, his impact is being felt all over the ice. He's proven now, beyond a doubt, I believe, that he belongs in this league, but his impact may be wasted playing on the bottom line. Parssinen has shown us a lot of good things in his rookie campaign, and the Predators would be wise to elevate the rookie in the lineup this season and give him strong line mates can help him create more offense. And that's tonight's One Big Stat. Charlie?
I'm Crazy Charlie Saunier, captain of the Renegades of Puck. I'm also tired of the cold, tired of the dark, and tired of being landlocked. I'm also willing to bet that I'm not the only one who could use some sun, fun, and time in paradise with friends. That's exactly why I called our great friend Pete Weber. He told me, call Ships and Trips Travel, and now we're all going to Mexico. That's right, Renegades of Puck, July 15th to the 20th of 2023. Dreams Vallarta Resort in Puerto Vallarta is the destination to hang with Pete Weber in paradise. To join Pete and the Renegades of Puck in Puerto Vallarta, go to www.shipsandtripstravel.com. That's shipsandtripstravel.com, and just click on the ROP on vacation tab. Don't stay landlocked. Join the Renegades of Puck in paradise, July 15th to the 20th, 2023 in Puerto Vallarta. Pete Weber, the Renegades of Puck, and you. It's time to ditch those skates for flip-flops and fun in the sun. For the Nashville Predators, this weekend, of course, was a mixed bag. Always great to win a hockey game in front of your home crowd. And for the home crowd, let's face it, it's been really difficult getting to the rink and having a good time as of late. So for the Preds to blow out the Panthers on Saturday afternoon and send their crowd out to a sunny afternoon on Broadway, well, that was great for the Preds. But this weekend really, truly was a mixed bag. If you could have flipped the results of the two games, it actually would have helped the Nashville Predators a bit more than the way it ended up going. Again, blowing out the Panthers, lots of fun, seeing a lot of goals scored, always a tremendous amount of fun. It was sure fun to talk about, a lot of offense and goals scored for once as opposed to what we typically get to discuss. But for the Nashville Predators, the reality is going to set in very quickly now that they have lost to the Minnesota Wild. And in regulation, it seemed like they had fought back hard. It was almost making it to that overtime, getting that point could have been that one thing for those of you that are still diehard positive and will hold on to anything that is a positive thing. That 1 point, if the Preds could have at least gotten overtime, it could have helped. But honestly, losing to Minnesota, it creates a void of separation between the Preds and the teams above them. The Preds are now 9 points behind Colorado for third place in the Central, which is the automatic qualifying spot for the Central. 1, 2, and 3 automatic qualifying spots. The Preds have no hope of being in the 1 or 2 spot and going to have to go on a miraculous run to get the 3 spot. The Preds' hope at best is to be in the wild card conversation, and they're not going to be in that conversation much longer if they continue losing the most important games on the schedule. Now 7 points behind the Minnesota Wild coming out of the weekend. The Preds have played 2 less games than the Minnesota Wild, but I don't think that makes all that much of a difference at this point. Games in hand is not really going to be that big a deal. So for the Nashville Predators, 7 points out of the second wild card spot right now, and they're not getting a lot of help. The New York Rangers could not beat the Calgary Flames last night in Calgary, and you are seeing the Minnesota Wild take care of their own business. Now the Colorado Avalanche take care of their own business. Edmonton is also performing at a higher level than they had been. So for the Nashville Predators, these are teams that they have to overcome. It's not just a number of points. They also have to overcome significant teams that are, frankly, taking off. And when you watch Edmonton, when you watch Calgary, when you watch Minnesota, look at these teams and how the Preds stack up against them. The Preds, frankly, once Minnesota got their big names going today, the Preds barely hung in this one. UC Saros was the only reason the Preds were within striking distance to try to tie this thing up with the pulled netminder at the end. So tough for the Nashville Predators moving forward. Reality is setting in. The trade rumors are starting to come fast and furious. We're hearing a lot more from different parts of the hockey universe, which GMs are always going to leak to their favorite media sources. And when you're starting to see all of these different media sources in different markets popping up, that means the visiting GM, let's call it in this situation for this discussion, not David Poile, not the Nashville Predators, but the GMs around the league are the ones that are getting those rumors out. David Poile is notorious for being very quiet. He doesn't feed anything to the media. Believe me, I've tried, I've asked, and I don't know of very many people that have gotten tips from David Poile. Maybe from someone below David Poile at some point along the line, but absolutely not from David Poile himself. So there are GMs that are talking around the league about how the Nashville Predators are being willing to talk. Hearing Tanner Jeannot's name come up, UC Saros's name possibly coming up. And listen, that is a true and real discussion that we need to have with Askarov already being an all-star in his first season with the Milwaukee Admirals, with him performing at such a high level. Yes, he is very young right now, but the goaltending development path has changed in the last few years with goaltenders like Igor Shesterkin coming into the league and being so incredibly dominant at such a young age. Is Askarov ready to take over the Nashville Predators starting job at this moment? Absolutely not. Maybe in his mind he is, because he's wild. But for the Nashville Predators, they have a very competent young backup netminder right now in Kevin Lankinen, who could take over the franchise for the rest of this season and perhaps for one more season as Askarov gets one more full year to develop in the AHL. Askarov is no doubt the phenom that is the future for the Nashville Predators. The UC Saros conundrum is going to have to be handled at some point in time. Is this the moment to handle it? Look at some of the returns around the league on some of the trades that have already happened for a Vezina caliber goaltender going into the prime of his career as a starter in UC Saros, even on a fairly bad Nashville Predators team, still putting up the numbers that he is. UC Saros has to be considered big trade bait, and I would not be surprised if there are teams calling. Will David Poile be willing to have that discussion now, or are they just going to try to wait till 2 years from now when Askarov is absolutely destroying every team in the AHL? Right now, he's doing that currently. Check the stats, check the numbers. Tanner Jeannot, a fan favorite, being talked about, and other pieces being talked about. We're going to know a whole lot about this Nashville Predators team in the coming days. And if they don't put up a good performance against the Vancouver Canucks, the headlines of sell, sell, sell are going to start coming quite fast. That does it for Operation number 718 for the Renegades of Pucks. Thanks so much to Sean C. Smith and Brian Baston for jumping in the trenches, and we sure do appreciate each and every one of you for jumping in the trenches with us. We appreciate your viewership, we appreciate your time, and most importantly, we appreciate each and every one of you. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. Stick taps, love, and respect.